So if you look at what would be the backend of this, so this is the tool that we are talking about, that is Microsoft Sentinel. And what does it actually do? So if you look at in terms of the dashboard, it gives you a nutshell view on what are the incidents that has been populated within your environment. I'll just show you on the detailed view as well. For an example, where you get to integrate, so this says, okay, 74 open incidents. And if you look at this, it will show up what are the alerts and coming from which source. And it necessarily doesn't have to be only Microsoft, it can be any area. Even on Microsoft 365 Defender or ID protection or whatever it is, name it. And if an admin tries to drill down on a particular incident, let's say this particular high incident, it gives you a view on whether this has been assigned to anyone to take the ownership of that particular incident and to rectify that. So this says unassigned. So how does the assignment happen here? Either it can be done manually, or else we can have the automation rule depending on severity level, so that automatically it gets assigned to an engineer and it is notified to the whoever the CIO or CISO, whoever the particular person it should be informed of. And then of course further if you drill down on this, it gives you the total view of full detail. What are the so what are the attacks, or what are the so it will show up what are the types of attacks that has been targeted and from where it is coming from. So this is an added advantage for an IT admin, rather than looking at in a siloed admin panel just to go through all those alerts and everything, for him to drill down and see what happened where, right? So here, if you look at this particular user, it gives you the visibility of who the user is, from where it has been, from where the attack came from, or what sort of an impact that this particular user has. And if you look at further on the entities, what are the entities that has been impacted on this? So it could be the user or the IPs or the types of attacks, or it could be the device, whatever it is. And if you look at further, whether it's aligned with any sort of threat intel, meaning like it could be from Microsoft threat intel, or it could be from any third-party threat intel as well, right? So basically, if you look at Microsoft threat intel, that is Microsoft threat intelligence, right? Or let's say Cisco, Talos, or whatever it is, right? So that's the level of visibility that particular engineer or the admin gets here, right? So if you are anyone who is from the admin perspective, apart from the management level, I know it's a mix right here. So anyone who is managing, who has this pain point as of now? Just a hands up. So you are there, okay. So this would be another advantage in terms of managing your security incidents and alerts, right? So this is the pain point that you have as of now. How do I manage everything? So at a glance, you get who the user is, from where the attack is, what is the type of attack, and how many attacks are being targeted on that particular user. So that is one. And if you look at, so that was on an overview of an incident. Let's say in terms of, it's not only about a user's behavior or attack being targeted to a user. So if you look at, the attack can come from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily doesn't have to be a user or a device. It can come from any form of its own. So basically, if you look at how do you make sure within an environment, let's say, if I show you, if I pick a user, this particular user, his entity behavior, UEBA behaviors, right? So what does it do and what's happening within that range? So basically, if you look at what are the security alerts and further drilling down to the same investigation path. Let's say for an example, how many of us fall under same level of group memberships? So that is something that we don't have a visibility of. But if you look at whether this particular user has a visibility into any sort of admin level groups or what, it will give you a peer-based security groups membership view. So it has learned what are the groups this particular user has been a member of. And not only this particular user, whoever is part of this particular group, so it will analyze and say, okay, these are the users who does similar sort of operations. For an example, it could be admin, or it could be a non-admin user. But if he is there on the group, he will be also protected here. So that particular view one, where if you look at by manually going into Active Directory or your admin panel, yes, you get to see what are the groups they are member of. But the entity behavior, what it happens actually, you don't get to see that. So by natively, it gives you that visibility over here. So that's the level of integration. It's not only about managing the incidents and events. So beyond that, that's the entity behavior it gives you. And so that was the next part. And integrating any threat intelligence, which I told you already. So I'll just touch base on that as well. So basically, if you look at here, of course, I have integrated only the Microsoft Threat Intelligence. But if you need to add any other, simply you can have your manual threat indicators added as well, depending on your domain or file or IP address, you name it. And apart from that, well-known threat integrated solutions. So basically, if you go here, it will show up what are the solutions that's available. So as you say, Proofpoint or Symantec or so forth, all these are pre-built and it's available for you to integrate. So if you look at how does an admin configure this, it's simple as this, the same way that I do now. Go here, enable, that's it. The integration becomes there. And if you look at MITRE-ATT&CK framework, what are the attacks that is being actively available within the environment, and to which MITRE-ATT&CK framework does it align to. And depending on that, you get to spin up a automated rule so that the particular attack will be protected over that particular rule itself. And then of course, speaking about on the automation part. So I spoke about your events management and the entity behavior, then about the automation. So this is orchestration and automation is built in with this. So basically you have all these events where you are unable to manage manually. So you simply spin up a rule and you can define, for an example, let's say an automation rule. You name it. When incident is created, if the incident provider equals, you can select either Sentinel or 365 Defender, any of the sources that you add. And of course, condition is that, let's say, incident properties or severity. For an example, if the severity is high, equals high, and the action would be like run a playbook or assign an owner. So this is what I told you about. Assigning an owner to an incident depending on the severity. If it is high, definitely it has to be addressed then and there. So rather than an admin making sure what is happening within the environment, you define a rule here that will make the admin's life easier. So that's the level of the automation that you can bring in here. This is not only for 365 Defender, or it's open to any of the solutions that you integrate here. So because the solutions that you have, it's cumbersome, right? And of course, I'll just close this. So those are the main points that I actually wanted to show up here, because I've been given only limited time frame, and I think this was somewhat informative. But if admins, yes, you will feel, yes, there is a potential on this where the challenges you have as of now can be addressed, right? And definitely, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation, let's say, we can have a separate chat on that, and we'll be over here. We can ask questions also later on. So with that being said, I think I'm done for the day. Thank you once again, and I'll hand it over to Senori.